Somewhere along the way, you absorbed an idea about how you're supposed to feel. That a good life is one where you mostly feel okay. That sadness, anxiety, frustration, dread, those are problems, glitches, things to fix. And if you're feeling them often, something must be wrong with you or wrong with your life. And your job is to figure out what it is and make it stop. So when an unwanted feeling shows up, you do what you've been taught to do. You think about it. You try to figure out where it came from. You try to talk yourself out of it. You try to outsmart it. And when that doesn't work, you think harder. And the feeling gets worse. This is the part nobody told you. Most overthinking is not a thinking problem. It's a control problem. It's what happens when you treat a normal human feeling like an emergency that has to be solved before you're allowed to keep living. I'm a clinical psychologist, and today I'm going to walk you through why this happens, why it backfires every time, and one specific shift that gets you out of the loop. Take a second and ask yourself, honestly, what % of the time do you think you're supposed to feel good? Not great, not euphoric, just okay. Calm, steady, content. If you're like most people, the number you land on is high, 70%, 80%, sometimes even higher. And the anxious or unhappy 20%, that's the part you treat as the problem to be solved. Here's the thing. That number is not a clinical benchmark. It's a cultural one. We live in a moment where being okay is treated as the default state, and any deviation from it is something to optimize away. There are entire industries built on the premise that you should be feeling better than you are right now. And researchers have actually measured what that pressure does to us. A series of studies out of the University of Queensland looked at what happens when people perceive a social expectation that they should feel happy and not sad. The finding was striking. The more strongly someone felt that pressure, the sense that other people thought they shouldn't be feeling negative, the more negative emotion they actually experienced, and the worse their well-being got. The pressure to feel good was making people feel worse. That's the part most of us miss. Negative emotions, anxiety, sadness, anger, frustration, disappointment are not malfunctions. They are part of the standard equipment. They evolved because they're useful. Anxiety alerts you to threat. Sadness signals loss. Anger flags violation. Each one is doing a job. And when you treat an emotion that's doing its job as a problem to be eliminated, you've set yourself up for a fight you cannot win. You're a human being having a human experience. Now here's where overthinking comes in, because once you've decided a feeling is a problem, your mind goes to work on it the same way it would go to work on any other problem. It analyzes, it rehearses, it tries to talk you out of it. It runs scenarios. It asks why you're feeling this way and what it means about you and what you should do about it. And it does all of this with one underlying goal: to make the feeling stop. That goal has a name in psychology. It's sometimes called the control agenda. The assumption that the way to deal with an unwanted internal experience is to control it, to suppress it, to outsmart it, to replace it with something better. Now, externally, this works pretty well. If you're cold, you put on a coat. If you're hungry, you eat. The control strategy: change the situation to make the discomfort stop. It's what makes humans good at engineering, agriculture, medicine. It's why we build things. But the moment you turn that same strategy inward on your own internal experience, it stops working. In fact, it makes things worse. Try this right now. For the next 10 seconds, do not, under any circumstances, think about a white bear. Researchers at Trinity College, including the psychologist Daniel Wegner, ran exactly this experiment in the 1980s. People told to suppress a thought about it more than people who weren't told anything at all. And once they stopped trying to suppress, the thought came back even stronger. He called it the rebound effect. The act of trying to push something out of your mind is what gives it staying power. That's the trap. The harder you try to stop feeling something, the more your brain treats that feeling as important. Important things deserve attention, so your brain gives it more attention, which makes the feeling more intense, which makes you try harder to control it. That loop is overthinking. That's the engine. So how do you get out of that loop? To answer that, I want to give you a distinction that I have found helpful with many people. It comes from a particular school of psychotherapy called acceptance and commitment therapy. And once you have it, you can't unsee it. There are two kinds of pain in any difficult moment. The first is what you might call clean pain. It's the pain that's just part of being a human being in this situation. Your relationship ended and you feel grief. You bombed the presentation and you feel embarrassed. Your kid is struggling and you feel scared. These feelings are not malfunctions. They're accurate. They match the situation. They are what a healthy nervous system produces when something difficult happens. And clean pain hurts. There's no version of grief that doesn't hurt, but it tends to move. And if you let yourself feel it, it shows up, peaks, and starts to recede. It does what it came to do. The second kind of pain is what you might call dirty pain. This is the pain you generate by fighting the first kind. It's the layer of suffering you add on top of the original feeling. Let me give you some specific examples, because abstract is useless here. You have a hard conversation with someone you love, and afterwards you feel sad. That sadness, that's clean pain. The sadness of a hard conversation with someone who matters to you. Sit with that and it moves through. But that's not what most of us do. Most people add a second layer. Why am I so sensitive about this? I shouldn't be this upset. What's wrong with me? I need to just get over this. Why can't I just be normal about conflict? That second layer, the judgment of the sadness, the attempt to argue yourself out of it, the meta commentary about what it means that you feel this way, that's dirty pain. And it sticks because every loop of self-judgment creates more sadness, which creates more judgment. And the data on this is striking. Researchers at UC Berkeley followed people for 6 months and tracked something they called habitual acceptance, the tendency to let your emotions and thoughts exist without judging them, without trying to make them go away. The people who scored higher on acceptance had better mental health 6 months later, less depression, less anxiety, higher well-being. And the mechanism wasn't that they had fewer hard experiences. They had the same hard experiences as everyone else. They just produced less suffering on top of those experiences. The clean pain was the same. The dirty pain was lower. So here's the distinction in one sentence. Clean pain is what shows up. Dirty pain is what happens when you refuse to let it. So what do you actually do with this? Because I'm not going to tell you to just feel your feelings. That's not advice. That's a slogan. Here's the practical move. The next time you catch yourself in a thinking spiral about something that's bothering you, I want you to ask one question. Is what I'm doing right now changing the situation, or is it just trying to change how I feel about the situation? If the answer is changing the situation, make the call, send the email, schedule the appointment, have the conversation. Then the thinking is doing real work. Take the action. But most of the time, the honest answer is the second one. You're not problem solving. You're trying to talk a feeling out of existing. You're running the meeting in your head, not because rehearsal helps at this point. You've rehearsed 11 times, but because rehearsing is the only thing that makes the anxiety briefly quieter. And once you can see that's what's happening, you have a choice. You don't have to make the feeling go away to keep living your life. You can actually let the feeling be there, and you can put your attention on what's actually in front of you. That's it. That's the shift. You're not eliminating the feeling. You're stepping out of the project of trying to. You're moving from thought-based mode into sense-based mode. If you'd like to learn more about that, you can check out the video I made on that topic right here. This works because the loop only runs as long as you're feeding it. The control attempt is the fuel. Take the fuel away by letting the feeling exist without trying to fix it, and the loop loses momentum all on its own. Not immediately, but measurably. Now, the first few times you do this, it'll feel wrong, like you're letting yourself off the hook, or being irresponsible, or giving up. That's the control habit objecting to losing its grip. Notice it and let it object, and then do the thing anyway. I want to step back for a second because I know that what I'm proposing here goes against almost everything you've been taught about feelings. You've been taught that uncomfortable feelings are problems, and I'm telling you, they're often just part of being alive. You've been taught that if you can just figure out what's wrong, you can fix it. And I'm telling you that some things, grief, anxiety about real uncertainty, sadness about real loss, aren't there to be fixed. They're there to be moved through. And you've been taught that you should be able to control how you feel. I'm telling you that the attempt to control how you feel is very often what's keeping you stuck. And here's the bigger reframe underneath all of this. A good life is probably not built on figuring out how to feel better. A good life is built on getting better at feeling and then using your energy on what actually matters to you instead of spending it on the project of trying to feel okay first. Think about that for a second. Most people walk around with the implicit belief that they have to fix their internal state before they're allowed to live their actual life. And the wait never ends because the feeling never fully cooperates. The people who get the most out of their lives are not the people who feel the best. They're the people who have stopped requiring themselves to feel a certain way before they engage. They've gotten better at feeling. They've gotten less afraid of their own internal weather. If what I'm describing, the constant thinking spirals, the inability to let a feeling exist without fighting it, the sense that your mind never stops, feels less like an occasional thing and more like the permanent texture of your life, it's worth talking to a professional. A therapist who works with acceptance-based approaches can help you build this skill at a deeper level with support and accountability. That's not weakness. That's strategy. Now, here's your challenge. The next time you notice yourself in a thinking spiral about something, pause and ask the question, is this thinking changing the situation, or is it just trying to change how I feel? If it's changing the situation, take the action. And if it's not, try just once, letting the feeling be there without fighting it. And then ask yourself a second question. What would I be doing right now, in this moment, if I weren't trying to feel different first? And whatever that thing is, go do it with the feeling along for the ride. And to learn more about how you can actually practice this skill, you can check out this video right here. And if you found this video helpful, please make sure to subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.